Hey, loves, it's Dr. Simone Ellis, and welcome to the second season of Beyond the Chair. I'm super excited because I don't know about you, but do you fangirl over people over Instagram? Because that is totally my vibe. And I'm so blessed because I get to start this season off with none other than Dr. Patel. Tejas, it's a pleasure to have you here today. Can I brag on you for a minute?
Sure, go
Okay.
ahead. I feel like you already started, but go ahead.
Well, okay, guys. So, of course, Instagram is a total thing, and he has done the damn thing. I'm so impressed with what he's doing from a cosmetic dental standpoint. And what's even more exciting is that he's personable. You can tell from his experiences with his patients that they really understand cosmetic dentistry. And we're not talking about horse teeth, we're talking about quality because we know, right? When we see these smiles, we're like, who did your work? This is a person where I'm like, you could absolutely do my smile. I would absolutely love that. So he went to dental school in University of, he went to dental school at the Texas Dental School. And I know you guys don't call it Houston, Texas Dental School. What is it? University of Texas, right?
University of Texas at Houston Dental
At
School.
Houston,
Yeah.
right. And he also, guys, has so many followers on TikTok. Do you want to tell us that number? Like, let's talk about how many followers you have. It's kind of
Yeah.
crazy.
It is crazy, and it's 2.8 million right now. Yeah.
2.8. So how did this even happen? Like, how did you become this viral sensation on the social media stratosphere?
So for us, it started like during the quarantine, and prior to the quarantine, me and my social media manager were talking about, hey, like there's this thing called TikTok, like it could be interesting to find out more about it. And so, like December prior to quarantine, I was posting a little bit like photo slideshows. Like I
Yes.
didn't really understand it. And then when everything shut down, I made it a goal to really kind of take some time and try to understand what TikTok really was. And what I found is that Instagram started off as a photo sharing app, right?
Right.
And then what I found that TikTok it's just a video sharing app. And a lot of people were like, oh, it's just dances and things like that. But what I found is that people were super creative on it. And actually within the app, I was able to like make these cool videos without really knowing too much about like video editing and things like that. So I just started to get more comfortable, especially during like the lockdown. Like we had nothing else to do, so I was like making silly, funny TikToks, and just trying to like understand and learn it. And then so I just kept like throughout the quarantine, I started to see growth on TikTok. But what I actually saw more was when I posted those TikToks to Instagram. Like this again, this is a few years ago. It really started to grow our Instagram. And then so like secondarily, I was getting this like nice side effect of this growth. And so I was like, well, let me just do more TikTok and that will help grow our Instagram. Because at that time it was our number one social media referral. And so I just kept going and going and going. And then I enjoy like music, I enjoy video, I enjoy like movies, like film, things like that. So I was kind of playing around with like our passion of dentistry and cosmetics and then bringing in music and these other things that were all available in this app. And so I just kept going. So I mean, it's been like 3 years of being pretty consistent. And I think anything in life, if you're pretty consistent for a very, very long time, you're going to see results, right?
Absolutely.
And we worked with a handful of like really prominent influencers on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, and they're successful in other places too. And that really like started to like get us these bigger jumps in growth as well. So I think the consistency, working with the influencers, and just trying different things, just trying to be like creative and fun, and yeah, it's like a variety. And the cool thing was it was just an exploratory thing. Like we could just try this and see what works, you know?
And Tejas, I have to tell you, like, you are killing it. And I'm so proud of that
Oh,
because you're crushing it. You did something during a period of time where people were either like mobilized or not, right? Like during the
yeah.
pandemic, they were either like, I'm freaking out, I don't know what to do. And you took it as an opportunity to just take off. And I just want to commend you because that's
Thank
huge. I'm
you.
really impressed with it. And again, like I said, guys, I'm kind of fangirling because I've been following him for quite some time. Love the quality of work. And from one colleague to another, I want you to continue to do amazing things. So
Thank you. I appreciate it. You too. You too. I mean, I'm fangirling over here too.
let's
So
do it together then. So, well, today's topic, guys, is going to be how the secret to becoming successful. And he already started dropping gems. So, you already know this is going to be a great episode. So, please be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms. And also make sure you're following my guy because he's clearly, if 2.8, would you say 2.3 million people can follow you?
2.8 million. Yeah.
Yeah. So then what are you doing not doing that, right? So do you mind dropping your Instagram handle and let them know where they can find you?
Yeah, for sure. My Instagram is at Tejas Patel DDS. So at TEJASPATEL DDS.
Awesome. So I like to start off with my very first new segment, guys, with is what are you drinking? So as dentists, we are stressed beyond measure. And sometimes we just need a chance to kick back. So in honor of May 1st today, I am drinking none other than a margarita. Okay, we have a mango margarita because that's how I want to decompress today. So, Tejas, what are you drinking today? And how do you decompress from a long day of work?
So I would be drinking a sparkling rosé, something bubbly, something fresh, something crisp. You know, in Texas it is warm, including Austin, so it's nice to have just like a nice, cool like drink. And so that's usually what I'm drinking. And then to decompress, I mean, I think that's a big thing that, you know, as dentists, we like that should be integral. That should be taught in dental school, you know, because it's such a huge part. Like I feel like, you know, our profession is so demanding, you know, in one way or the other. So I mean, I like doing yoga. I love spending time with my dogs. I love spending time with my kids and my wife. I enjoy traveling, trying new restaurants, watching movies, reading books, and anything like superhero related. I'm all over it. If
Oh
it's
my
a comic book,
God.
a movie, book, whatever, I'm all over it.
So
Yeah.
then I need to know, are you DC or Marvel? Because we could become really good friends at this current moment, or we could like break up this relationship. So are we a DC fan or are we a Marvel fan?
Okay. So I'm gonna for the movies, I'm a Marvel fan.
Yes. Okay, good
For
job.
for the actual comic books that I read, if we go through like all the comic books I have at my house, the majority of it is DC.
Really?
Yeah.
So kind of nerding out. I'm totally a Marvels fan. I am that person.
Yeah.
People are like, really, you like that? I'm like, yes, I am a
Yeah.
Marvels. I'm a Marvels fan for sure. And you talked about something that I want to go back into. I don't hope you don't mind. That decompression, right? That part
Yeah.
that we don't learn in dental school. And unfortunately, I think that plays a part into why suicide rate is so high amongst our
Yeah.
profession, right? So talk to me a little bit about the journey to get even there because I think that that also plays a part in success, right? It's
Yeah.
the full picture. It's not just one part. And for me, that journey was I didn't learn about the balance of life probably until right before the pandemic. I'm so curious to know, like, what got you on that journey to say, you know what, I need to take time for me. I can be an amazing clinician, but beyond the chair, like, what am I doing to make myself successful and be a whole person, right?
So for me, it's to be honest, it was probably my kids. Like my I have two daughters. They're pretty much grown now. One is 19 in college, and one is 17, and she'll be off to college very soon. But
You have a
when they're
19-year-old? Oh my God.
yeah,
You look so young.
thank you. You're so thank you. But to be honest, like when they were really young, part of like one of my motivations to like like work out and do other things was to like keep up with like young kids, you know.
Mm.
That was a motivation for me, or just like being in good health so I could like pick, when they were little, pick them up and things like that, or run around with them or play tag with them and stuff like that. So that was a big motivation for me to like keep my body healthy. And that came through the form of like either, working out with a trainer or doing yoga. and I've always enjoyed yoga. Another thing too, I think just that I've gotten kind of like on and off on is meditation.
Yeah.
I feel like that's helped give me. It's weird because it's like when you're doing it, you don't really feel like a certain thing, but then like it's if I look back on like the times I did do meditation consistently and how my days or my month went, if for some reason they were better or a little bit less stressful, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but I think I definitely feel like our profession is way demanding again, especially if you're the business owner. Even if you're not the business owner, just being a dentist, I think there's just so many hats that you have to wear of, being the compassionate individual to your patient, to becoming like the listener or communicator with your patient or your team, to being the leader, to being like the artist, to being like the technician. There's so many roles that we occupy that can wear on you like over time. But I definitely feel like even if like I have a free night, I'll just go to the movies and just get entertained for a couple hours, and that's anything to just get your mind off like the millimeters of teeth or that one line angle that whatever just didn't go right or whatever.
Right.
There's so much outside of dentistry, and I appreciate you sharing all this stuff that you're doing.
Yeah, I think thank you because I mean, for me, I think the journey was just like that. Like we don't realize how much energy we're absorbing from people, right? So dentists don't think about like I got to absorb this energy from this patient or the employee that's going to keep being late or the team member that didn't know how to properly, say this type of post-op instruction to the patient. I mean, it's just mind-boggling how stressful it can be. And for me, my body was like, girl, stop. Like, I don't even know when I think back to it how I was able to do all that I was doing now and
I
still stay sane, right? Like, how? And now I'm just like, I tell everybody this and I stick by this. I wake up at 4:30 in the morning and I'm at the gym at 5:15 and it is a part of my routine. Like it is I pour into me before I pour into anyone else. And I agree with you on meditation. I use the Calm app and I'm always like, this is 10 minutes of my life. I could be doing something else, but my life is better when I'm doing it. And when I don't do it, I completely see the difference. But that 10 minutes during that time is definitely like, hurry up so I can go do something else, right? I need to check out yoga though. I am not as limber as I think I could be. And I think yoga helps with flexibility, especially since we
yeah yeah
physically have so many, we're
yeah.
down. What type of yoga do you practice?
So there's a hot yoga studio close to where I live. So one is convenient
Yeah.
and it's like hot yoga. So it's called like power vinyasa. So it's like a
Mm.
lot of poses and it's very hot, but it's good at like just like sweating everything out. Just like you feel exhausted afterwards, but it's totally worth it. So I've
Yeah.
enjoyed that over the
I
years.
did you watch the documentary on Netflix, the Bikram yoga one, with the hot yoga?
That was a little shady, but yeah.
Right? It was crazy. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like it was good though, but it was like, what is going on in this? But I did hot yoga after that because now I'm convinced. I'm like, well, wait a minute. He was able to mobilize so many people. I got to see what this was about.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for telling me exactly like kind of how you decompressed. And so
Sure.
now I'd like to get into defining your success in your craft. Again, you have done some amazing things and you're going to continue to do amazing things. But I want our listeners to kind of get an understanding of really what you've been able to create over these years. So, kind of walk me through the process of your journey, like when you started your office and then now where you are. We were talking a little bit before the show about how you see patients now versus when you saw more like hygiene and stuff. So kind of walk us through what your practice is like right now.
Sure. So I'll kind of start way back because I've been doing dentistry for 20 years now, and I've had a variety of experiences. And I started, from Houston. Me and my wife decided to move to Austin 18 years ago. We started a practice from scratch, didn't know anyone, and just had that leap of faith. I was
Right.
talking to someone the other day, like we started my practice, we had our first kid, and we moved into our first house all within like a week.
Are you
So,
serious?
yeah, it was a crazy time. But
What?
yeah, we started so we started our practice from scratch, and back from day one, I heard like a really prominent cosmetic dentist speaker in dental school who really inspired me to try to make this cosmetic practice. And so I started from scratch, didn't know anyone, and then I said, you know what, I'm going to build a cosmetic practice. I didn't know anyone, didn't know anything about business, didn't know anything about marketing or anything. And so I did that for like 6 months, and I was like, man, nothing's happening. It's like crickets in here. And
Right.
so I decided like, okay, you know what, like let's like, well, we're going to start incorporating dental insurance, signing up for PPOs, stuff like that. So, over the years, we started to get into insurance. We probably got on like 5 PPOs and things like that. And then we just really built like a suburban kind of family general dental practice, and it was a great experience. Did really well, really got dialed in. Probably like 8 to 10 years into there, I was really dialed in, working 3.5 days a week. Had a good team. We're vibing. Everything was going really good. And then I was talking to a mentor, and he was like, "This is like." Like maybe 10 years ago. And so he was like, yeah, I would consider maybe like either growing your practice by acquiring a practice close by and bringing the patients over to help grow your business. And so I kind of looked around, and there was nothing in my area for sale. And I was like looking around Austin, and my original practice was in Lakeway, which is like a suburb near the lakes. Okay.
Okay.
And then there was an office downtown, which is like 20, 30 minutes away. And I walked into this office, and really in downtown Austin, there's really not much dental. There wasn't many dental offices at all. And it was actually, there was growth in downtown, but not a lot.
Gotcha.
And I walked into the office, it had like the equipment, everything was so old.
So
Okay.
we're not
Like
talking about ADEC chairs. We're talking about like the
we're
senior
talking about like
citizen.
spittoons on the side,
Nice.
like, I
Nice.
mean, it might as well had carpet on the ceilings,
Oh,
I mean,
those are
like,
the best. I love the carpet office.
so, but what it did have was it's on the ninth floor, and floor to ceiling glass was just
Ooh.
overlooking parts of downtown. And so
So it
I
was
was like,
sexy a little bit.
yeah, it had that vibe. And I was like, okay, this dentist, he was like in his 50s, but he was having health issues. He was getting rid of his practice. And so, me being bold, I said, I'm going to take over this practice. I'm going to figure out like getting an associate. And that's what we did. So I bought that practice, took over, worked a couple of days at each office, ended up hiring associate. And then I kind of went through this growth pattern of building both offices, like into like super general dental offices, where we did everything. We did Invisalign. I learned how to place implants. I got up to doing like all-on-4 surgeries.
So wait, let
Did
me
the
stop you there. You said you were
yeah,
running two practices at the same time.
yeah,
All right. So let's keep it 100. How was
yeah.
your mental at that time? It had to be crazy.
It was crazy. And actually, to be honest, that after doing that for 5 years, and having an associate, like it was like a revolving door every year, having an associate every year,
Yes.
um, and having to redo work, and growing our team to like 12, 13 people, it was very stressful, and it almost like literally burned me out. I was like,
Yeah.
so at that time, I had been doing dentistry for like 15 years, and I would come home stressed and just like I had trouble sleeping. And my wife was like, "Hey, look, if you're not happy, you should try something different." And then
Yeah.
I just like sat down, did a lot of like soul searching, and I said, you know what, like I've been doing this 15 years. I'm stressed, the f out,
Yeah.
and I was like, if I'm going to do this 15 more years, say for example, let me do it my way, and so what I then did was I sold a practice,
Yes.
downsized to one practice. I downsized my team. I started to get off these insurance plans, and that then COVID happened. So prior to COVID, I had already downsized my expenses, downsized my team,
Mm.
had started to get off insurances, and then throughout, COVID was a very questionable time because I just made all these changes that I didn't know if it was going to work.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden everything shut down. So I was like, oh, what's going to
Like,
happen.
shit, am
And
I going to be
so,
able to do this?
yeah, 1,000%, 1,000%. So, we during that time, we had got rid of hygiene. Our hygienist, at the time, she got pregnant, and then she was like, and we were like, I don't think she's coming back.
Right.
And then
And
and then
hygiene
COVID
was
hits.
wilding during that time. Remember that? Like hygiene was like, if you
Yes,
don't have like,
beehive suits. Like, I mean,
if you don't have a spacesuit for me to come do my job,
yes,
I'm not doing it. And you're just like,
yes,
girl, sit
yeah,
down. Like it's not this.
yeah, yeah. So we did. So we decided not to bring back hygiene. And
Wow.
that's where it started. And then we ended up having a really profitable, even though like the world was shut down, like we had a profitable 2020. And then
Yeah.
we're like, okay, we made it through a pandemic and we survived and we're just doing cosmetic dentistry. What if we kept going? And then so we just kept going and we didn't bring back hygiene. And I have like currently I have three team members, one office manager, one chair side, and one treatment coordinator. I'm the only doctor. Um, I have three ops, and then the other two are kind of like lounges or whatever. So we kind of tailored our practice because what our practice then developed into is strictly cosmetic practice, where because of social media, we see people from all over the U.S.
Right.
That wasn't our, when I talked to my social media manager, 5 years ago, I was like, I want to get known in Austin. I want to get big in Austin. I want to be the go-to guy in Austin. But what happened is that we started to become like the go-to person, like in Texas, and then like,
Period. You became the go-to person. Period. Like you were one of those
yeah,
ones, those names where it's like, I know about Dr. Patel. Like I see dentists that are coming to you. Like that's the type of work where if your colleagues are like, I trust you with my mouth, then you're
yeah, yeah,
you're legit. So
yeah. So it took a long time, because a lot of people, that the question you asked is a question I get a lot. Like, how did you transition? Like, what was that timeline? And for me, it was, to get here, I'd say it was like, I mean, I know people could do it quicker, but for me, it was like 5 years of intentional steps. Like creating a vision or goal list or a vision board like 5 years ago, and then like chipping away at it and taking my time and like making those changes where we were still able to do it and then run a business because we have to provide for ourselves and your team and things like that without like like crashing our business.
right. And so like, how did you overcome those obstacles? Because I mean, as an entrepreneur to another entrepreneur, sometimes it gets tough, right? You get very like, am I making the right decisions? What am I going to do next? And you're touching on a lot of things. So when you got to that point where you're like, okay, I've got to work this 5-year plan. I got to see it through. Like, what did you do, or how did you work through those obstacles?
I mean, I did have inspiration from like a couple of my buddies. Like I have a really great friend who has like a strictly dental implant practice in Colorado.
Okay.
And he had not been on insurance like his whole career. And he's
Wow.
probably like in his 60s or some 50s or 60s or something like that. And so that was like inspiration, like knowing that, hey, there's someone out there who, if it's possible for someone to do it and you can see it, then it's possible. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's not like I was creating, well, the hygiene part that was like totally out of the blue. So now
Yeah.
we're now people are like, what are you doing? But no, like knowing that it's possible. I did use a dental business coach for a long time. His name is Bill Blatchford. I think
Mm-hmm.
he's kind of retired. I think his daughter Christina is kind of taking over, and she's great as well. So I used Bill Blatchford for a long time, and that also gave me the confidence of him sharing stories of other dentists who are going through these struggles or challenges or making these changes. But I think just like being true to my goal, being true to myself, being true to my vision, like running the two offices and doing all these things and managing all these people is just not, it just wasn't me. It's what I thought I wanted to chase because of, these big numbers or big production numbers or whatever. Um, but for me, it's like, I like this slow pace. I mean, we still have like super busy days, like we talked about, but like one, low patient volume, high end work, high production procedures, and that's like the fit. And I think like sticking to my guns and being confident And sticking to my vision, I think that was like a huge thing because I knew it would work. It just would take time, you know?
So I'm picking up a couple of things that I feel like you're saying, and I was going to ask you, like, what are the three things that you were talking about? But I want to make sure I'm reiterating because I think you're dropping some amazing things that I believe so many doctors should really, subscribe to, which is first your squad, like having an amazing group of people around you, whether it's paying for coaching, which I think enough doctors don't think about, like investing into themselves. But I always tell like clients that I even work with, I'm like, even the top professional athletes, invest in themselves. I remember reading the story about Michael Jordan, and he had issues with shooting a free throw because of the lights, like all the cameras that were coming at him, right? And so he invested in paying for a coach just to help him master his free throw shot with all the cameras, and they would bring all these cameras and set up these different shots while he was practicing his free throw. And I'm like, if Michael Jordan can do something like this, right? Like, who are we? Who's considered to be one of the GOATs? Like, I think you dropped that, and I love that. I think the other thing that you talked about was not only having a vision, but working your vision, right? Like actually creating your vision and then staying true to yourself. Do you have any others that you feel like people need to hear? Because our stories are very parallel. I don't think I knew all of these things, but I had two offices during the pandemic, changing over the style of office, building my practice, and then the world shuts down.
Yeah.
And you're just like, wait, what? And part of what my issue has been the courage to step away from doing the day-to-day dentistry. We were talking about the difference. Like I have 6 chairs. I work Tuesday and Wednesday, but those Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I'm running. Like I am booking it. And I love the idea of like, hey, like I can do a veneer case and still have a sense of peace. What are the things that you feel like are key factors that are pivotal to your success, that are important for your growth, your potential, and staying true to who you are?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's part of it too. Like, again, like just doing the soul searching, because the cool thing about dentistry is you could do so many different things, especially as a general dentist, right? You can build your practice in so many different ways. But I think just really just finding what you really enjoy.
Right.
I mean, and then for us, it was cosmetic or just building the type of practice that you want. I mean, you're going to this practice X amount of days per week for X amount of years, spending at least 8 to 10 hours plus, admin time outside of work. So, having the faith that you could build what you want,
Yeah.
I think for myself, like I always had this doubt, like early on, like a strictly cosmetic practice wouldn't work. Like I have to be able to do everything. Like, what if the economy like goes down? Like no one's gonna do cosmetic work, and so I always had that fear and that's what kind of drove me to do like all the general stuff, right?
Right.
So I think staying true to what you want, and also like having faith in yourself. But then also, I think a big part of it that you touched base on is like working your vision board or working, like when I sit down and I'm a big goal setter and I just don't write down all these things I want or want to achieve. I kind of reverse engineer, like, I'll use that as a starting point, but then I'll be like, like what are some of the steps I need to do to get there?
I love that.
And then I'll start breaking down those steps, and then I have my, monthly goals or weekly tasks or whatever it may be to, ultimately, if I keep piecing it together, I'll make it to this, huge, goal at the end. And so I think taking the time to really have like some really quality time, not distracted time, like quality time to do like some soul searching, really like thinking about 5 years from now, where do you want to be in all aspects of your life, from your family to your personal health, to your profession, to your education, to your fun times, and really just breaking it down and working backwards. And I definitely think that's really helped me because, like like when we talk to patients, we talk about their smile goals, right?
Yeah,
And we're able to, whatever like we throw out, they throw out, we can tie it back to that. And
absolutely.
then so I think for me and like the stuff we go through, it's like, well, actually, this is a rough spot, but hey, it's part of the journey on the way to my goal.
I love that. And I always tell people like plan with the end in mind, right? And so you're just
Yeah,
talking about that. We see mouths,
yeah,
right? And we like, I don't know about you, but when I'm in a patient's mouth, I visualize where it could be as far as a
yeah,
perfect mouth looks like this. And then I
yeah,
work backwards. And
yeah.
we've got to do that in our personal lives as well. Like, where do you see yourself 5 and 10 years, like you just talked about? And then how can we work backwards? One of the big things that I'm on right now is just health related. And I feel like it's super important that we think about like you're pouring in
Oh
to
yeah,
people every single day. And if
yeah,
we're not like coming up with our own vision, our own mind, being quiet, having that time to like, reflect, you can absorb so many different people's opinions, thoughts, things, and you end up looking back and saying like, how does this like align with what I actually wanted, right? Like, is this Tejas talking to me or is this Simone talking to me? Like, and I think that you're spot on. And we do that so many times with our patients. And I see a lot of doctors not really doing that with themselves. And so, guys, keywords is like you're dropping so many thoughtful nuggets that I hope that people really are paying attention to, right? And
thank
so
you.
then you think about now, what does it look like next for you? Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Like, where are you taking yourself? I mean, that could be personal, professional, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, but where do you see yourself going?
So I mean, so a lot of what goes on with my practice ties back to my family. So I've got one kid in college, the younger one about to go to college. She's a huge high school athlete, plays
Nice.
volleyball, wants to play collegiate volleyball, which she will. And so a lot of my schedule revolves around going to her games and things like that. And so that for the next 5 years, if she plays anywhere locally, I'd love that. So I definitely would want to adjust my schedule to make it to her games.
Yeah.
So that's, and then, as my youngest does leave for college, that leaves me and my wife empty nesters besides our two dogs, right?
Right.
But potentially, like we've been blessed to travel a lot when our kids were younger and still travel a lot now, but that starts to open up like when kids are gone, like maybe some more international trips and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Travel is a huge part of it. Like a year ago, I started an online education company for dentists. Got approved by the ADA for CE credits and all that stuff, and so that's a huge part of like my goals for the next 5 years. And we have online courses right now, and then releasing that into doing live patient courses, over the shoulder type courses or hands on type courses. That's a huge part of like the growth I want to see with my business, the side business,
Well,
in the
let's
next
talk a
five
little
years.
bit about that because this virtual
Yeah, yeah,
veneer like training, like
yeah.
let's talk a little bit about that, like your brainchild. Like, if I was a new doctor coming out of school or even an established doctor, like what could I expect to get from that course? And why would that course be something that I should take?
Yeah. So the veneer masterclass is like our main most popular course that we have. And it's basically following me in real time to watch three different veneer cases start to finish. So it's from like the consult to the wax up to the design to the prep, like in real time. So if people are wondering like how long does it take him to prep, like you'll get to see in real time, impressions, temps, post-op of the temps, seating the permanents, post-op of the permanents, and just kind of like summarizing everything. So it's basically watching me like in real time how I do my cases. And then we have a social media masterclass, which basically I just drop all the pearls that I learned over the few years of growing this TikTok account, growing our Instagram account. So I drop a bunch of pearls there, and then I just recorded a photography class,
Yes.
um, and then a very detailed veneer preparation class like on a model. So I just recorded that. So like right now it's just mostly online, but like I said, like I think in the next either this year or next year I plan on establishing like in-person courses like
Yes.
out of my office here in out of my office here in Austin, and but yeah, there's definitely a void in education for dentists to learn cosmetic dentistry.
Yes, it is.
Um, it, it's barely touched on in dental school. I mean, there are places around the U.S. that have great courses, but I definitely saw a need, and I definitely felt the pain that I kind of went through. Learning a good amount of that over the years, and I just wanted to, the demand for cosmetic dentistry, like from patients, is like super high because of like social media, all of the things, and then there's all these doctors who want to do it but don't know like how or where to start. And yeah, my goal is just to try to share some of that experience that I've had.
I love that. And what do you feel like keeps you so disciplined to be able to like get all that done? Because let's be clear, guys, like he's a high commodity. So it's not like it's the
Yeah.
easiest thing to get into his chair, but he's also creating something outside of, just actually being in the chair. So, I mean, how do you keep yourself like pumped and motivated? Like, how do you keep yourself, like able to handle all of that?
Yeah. I think, like, when you set goals, like even when you get the little wins, I
Yes.
feel like that's always extra motivation to like keep you going, right? Because regardless, it's hard to be like obviously motivated 100% of the time, right? So you'll go through ebbs and flows, ups and downs, and all that stuff. And then I feel like when I get the little wins, that's always good. Or if I just remind myself of why I'm doing it, sometimes it's a reminder from someone else,
Yeah.
like sharing a kind word or something like that. But that's definitely helped. But I'm just like a hardworking person, and I'm just like a motivated person, um, where I feel like there's a lot to share, a lot to give. And I don't know how long like I'll be able to do this. I think, physically, like I'm kind of feeling it a little bit more.
What year is that
Um,
like for you? Like when you started? Because I started feeling it last year, and I was like, so I can't hear that well. I
okay.
have to have everything
Yeah.
on captions, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
it sounds like everybody is talking to me like the Charlie Brown factory. It's like, womp
Yeah.
womp, and I'm like, what are they saying? And I'm like, it's the drills. And my husband kept saying like, stop watching the captions. I'm like, I really don't. I just don't understand what people are saying. So when did you start feeling it where it's like in your back or your shoulders
Yeah.
are hurting, right?
I would say it's this year. It's like
Really?
I think it's year 20. This will be year 21. Okay.
Okay.
So I feel like I'm definitely feeling it now. I mean, I obviously I'm going to go as long as I can, but you never know. Like, what's crazy is I've been doing this 20 years, and over the years, there's dentists I started off with like in my area that may not be practicing now. Maybe they had like a
Mm.
a weird accident or injury, or decided, hey, like I don't want to do dentistry. I'm gonna, and so there's so many variables of what could happen that I'm just trying to keep going and appreciate, like the fact that I can still do it.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that we forget like it is a lot. Like, I'm a skier. I don't know if you like ski or
Oh,
snowboard, right? But like, I'm always when I fall, I'm like,
yeah,
don't like, don't hit my hands because I'm like, you
yeah,
can
yeah,
really like change the trajectory of your life. But it's so
yeah,
true. Like, it's definitely an industry where you have to really take care of your body, which is again what we were
yeah.
talking about before. I think yoga has probably preserved a lot. Could I be
Yes,
wrong? But like, it's preserved you a
yeah,
lot for sure, right?
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, for sure.
So, what do you feel like now is doing just dentistry enough in this day and age? You have embarked upon TikTok. You're now an Instagram influencer, like all of these things. And I know, especially doctors coming out, they're wondering, like, is dentistry just doing dentistry enough?
I don't know. I think it depends on the person, and
Okay.
what they want out of their practice, what they want out of their career. I mean, maybe there's people who are very happy like working part time, and that's their thing. And or I've seen like 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 dental students who are killing it on like YouTube,
Killing it.
and then I'm
Okay.
like, does this person have to even practice dentistry?
They don't
Like,
even have a practice again, so they're making more than me and you. Like, you're like,
yeah,
what is happening?
yeah. I
No
don't
shade.
know. Yeah, I will. Go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
said
Sorry.
no shade, right? We're not hating on them. It's
Yeah.
just like the times
No.
have changed from when me and
Times
you were in school, right?
I do think if someone does want to commit themselves to dentistry, they should think about their online persona. Like they should think about like their brand in marketing and social media. So I do feel like just being a dentist in today's time isn't enough. Like they, not that everyone has to be like a content creator or nothing like that, but I do think their brand for their business, there's a good portion of it that's captured on online or social media. And so, I mean, I feel like it's hard nowadays. You know,
So
it's hard. It's a
hard.
constant struggle, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think about, so for me, the pandemic was very depressing. Like you were able to
Mhm.
be very mobilized, but for me, I was like, what is happening? So my experience was on the other side of that, where I'm just like, and I'm a creative naturally, and I
Mhm.
just could not figure out like how to overcome like some of the things that I realized were just, it felt overwhelming. It felt depressing,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And so now, and I always had like, I think I was always creative before. I was on IGTV doing a lot. And now I'm like, oh my God, like, we have to get back involved in these things. And you're totally right. Like dentists now are the brand, right? So you have to know how to do photography,
Mhm.
videography. You need to be creative. You need to be with the trends on top of actually, if you're an owner, being a leader,
Yeah.
inspiring others to be the better version of themselves, uh, uh, and you're a dad and you're a husband and you're a human outside of all
Yeah.
of these things. It's amazing how many hats that you have to wear, and sometimes that can be overwhelming, right? um,
Oh,
yeah, I just want to know, like, so when you're overwhelmed with all of those things, because I think that a lot of our viewers, we're speaking at the ADA, at the Smile
mhm.
Con, and we're going to present there.
Yeah.
And like, I'm curious to know, I think we have a lot of different viewers that are, all different ages in
Yeah.
dentistry. And for the ones that are more established, there's probably a lot of resistance to that, right? We're,
Mhm.
we're the
Yeah.
blockbuster. We're like,
Yeah.
we're not changing, right?
Yeah.
And Netflix is on our ass like, girl,
Yeah.
you better get it together. So how do you not become overwhelmed with all of the different hats, especially with the new hats that are being imposed upon dentists?
I mean, I will say it is overwhelming, you know, and, my solution is, like, I don't want to be like doing so many things where I'm like not good at everything
Mm.
because I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
spread myself too thin. And I've been there, done that, like with the two practices and stuff like that. So what I'm trying to do is slowly try to build it into my schedule. Like maybe I need to, cut a half day of production, and that could be like my content creation time.
Right.
See, I'm doing the education stuff, and like a lot of that happens on the weekends where I'm like, so I'm trying to like start to create like more of an ideal schedule,
Mm.
and putting blocks of these work times of what I want to commit to. So I think, it's really hard to, like you said, like say, for example, you're doing like five different hygiene checks. But what if you're trying to film like five TikToks during it's like,
You're like, how
it's,
do
it's
I do
hard.
this?
Yeah, it's hard to juggle. It's hard to juggle all that, right? So, I mean, in one way or the other, we're drawn out of the thing we could be focusing on, right?
Right.
And so, part of my strategy, like going forward, is to do better at structuring my schedule. And then one thing I was going to say is, from with workout times or personal time, like having these non-negotiables,
Mm.
like you said, early in the morning, that's part of your routine, right? Getting to the gym at that time. And so building non-negotiables into my work schedule of like, hey, this is gonna help me go farther, longer, and faster. And that's what's gonna get us there. So I think just really like structuring your day, which ends up structuring your weeks, structuring your
Right.
months, structuring your years, to find time for those things that you're passionate about. But
Yeah.
also the things you have to do, like admin day or whatever.
Yeah, I think that that's, we're talking about block scheduling. That makes a big
Yeah.
difference. I know for me, and for any viewers that are listening, I have very strong blocks. So Monday and
Mhm.
Thursday is where I'm either taping content or doing pictures, but I know it's a content related
Yeah.
day. And then I'm
Yeah.
focused Tuesday and Wednesday, like that is patient focus. So if I'm at the practice, my hook is always like, I want to do the maximum amount of productivity that I
Yeah.
could do in 4 days in two.
Yeah.
And that's because of where the world is now, right? I have to learn how to do a lot of the content creation. I have to learn how to
Yeah.
inspire, motivate, and educate. And so Fridays for me is the day where I do all of my like personal things. Um,
Sure.
but yeah, the non-negotiables. I have do not disturb on my phone, and it does not come on until 8.
Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
not allow anybody to bother me, whether it's a staff member that's taking off or going to be late. Like I can't tolerate it
Yeah.
before 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
I think that that's important. I think that doctors or anybody in general needs to put those hard, like, this is for me. If I can pour into me at this time, I'm better for everybody, right? What hobbies do
I'm
you
proud of
have?
you. I'm proud of you. You got 2 days a week. I'm
I'm
not even
down,
there yet,
but
bro.
like you said, though, it took a long time for me to get there, and I realized that I could work on maximizing my productivity, and really like I want to have amazing days, and those Tuesday and Wednesday, I want to kill it. And I mean,
Yeah.
it's crazy, but I'm literally like running because
Yeah.
I know that on Mondays and Thursdays I want to have that off. And
Yeah.
um I thought about this like 3 weeks ago, and I said, you know what, Simone, like you really do have a good life. Like you're still doing very well, and you're only working Tuesdays and Wednesdays. But like you said, I blocked, so I figured out, okay, I'm not trying to shoot. I'm not trying to do multiple things on multiple days anymore. My brain cannot handle that. Um,
Yeah.
and even in the
So what
office, go ahead. What'd
I
you
want to
say?
ask you, I want to ask you questions.
Oh,
So,
well, let's go.
uh, how long have you been doing the 2 days? And then what, like, is that 2 days? Is it from like 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. or 8 to 5?
No, it's 8. It's 9 to 5. I come in morning
Okay.
huddle, which I mean, anybody who knows me, I'm adamant about, you have to have a morning huddle. That's my
Yeah.
game plan. So I get to work at 8:30, and we're there from 8:30 to 5, and I may stay till about 6 just to write up notes and do my charts. But I've been doing that now for since the pandemic, so I guess
Okay.
2013. And then I have Dr. Associate Dr. Joy, and then we also
Yeah.
have another doctor
Okay.
that's there now. So what I decided to do was, I was doing everything. All my
Yeah.
patients want would just want to see me, and like even for fillings, and I'm like, we hate fillings. Like, no one wants to
Yeah. Of
do an
course.
MOD. Like, come on, like
Yeah.
let's be
Yeah.
100. Like, that drives
Yeah.
me in. I'm like, I could have done a crown for the same amount of time that it
Yeah.
took me to do. So yeah, I've been doing that for about 3 years now. And I'm there. My associates are there. One is there Monday and Thursday. The other one is there Monday through Thursday, and then I'm there Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Yeah, and I think that also because, again, that balance came into play. I
Mhm.
needed
Yeah. Yeah.
that. Um, like I think about like all the things I was doing, when I first got out the gate, because I wanted to be the place, and I think we've done a good job of being that place in Houston
Yeah. Yeah.
where people wanted to come, but that took a lot of sacrifice.
Yeah.
You know that, like, you don't
Yeah.
get a chance to do the same things as your colleagues may get to do, because
Mhm.
you're grinding, like you are
Yeah.
building a brand, you're building a name. And so for me, it was taking the steps back. You hit on it earlier. um, I could make so much money,
Mhm.
right? We can keep, the sky's the limit in dentistry, but my
Yeah.
quality of life mattered to me as well. Like,
Yeah.
what could I give? What was I losing in the process? I don't have children, but I have a niece and nephew. Those
Mhm.
kids are like everything to me. So like, I want to be able to go midday on a Monday and watch her do horseback riding, if that's what,
Yeah.
like you talked about your daughter playing volleyball and your other daughter about to go to school. Like, those moments, I think, matter.
Oh,
Um,
1,000%. Yeah.
right. And I also want to travel. Like, I'm almost on my 40th country, and I'm going to be 40 in June.
Cool.
So
I
like, that
love it.
matters to me. So I'm down to 6 days a month now, which is a blessing. And I
Yeah.
just figured out, like, okay, where are the inefficiencies in business
Yeah.
that I could really
Yeah.
maximize, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my
I
jam
love.
right now. I probably could be doing a lot more from a productivity standpoint, or stop buying clothes on Shein, but I definitely have a shopping issue. So, all right, so here's the next segment. I want to talk to you about, is it manifest or is it mantra? Are you manifesting what you are experiencing in life, or is there a mantra that you live by that you feel like really guides your practice?
I mean, I feel like I have a mantra that drives me, and like I've told my kids this for a while. It's like we say, um, dream big, work hard, stay humble. So I feel like
Mm,
those 6 words, I think it's 6 words, have really kind of just like become like, or you got this, like
yeah.
or I got this, or you got this. Those are like words that are like around our house a lot. And I feel like those just words that if I'm like in a stressful prep, and like obviously my team has my back and they're like, yeah, you got this. But in my mind, if I'm like, you got this, like that definitely pulls me through.
Yeah.
Um,
Shout out to the
I mean,
team for getting you to pulling you through. Shout out, team.
yeah, no, I've got an amazing team. So I was gonna say I've got an amazing support system at home. So a lot of my motivation is not just by myself. I have like an amazing support system at home and at work. I've got a great group of team members. But I also kind of like the manifestation stuff. I do kind of,
Mm,
like I said, I write down goals, a lot of that activity, but again, just kind of breaking things down. Um, you know, During meditations, done some visualization as well. So I feel like they're like that's like 50-50. So
I love that. I love that. I think that they both work. You can have a great
yeah,
mantra, which I think that you not only are you using it for yourself, but I love that you're using it with your kids. Like they're becoming a part of like the Patel family. Like they're like, we got this. We can do this. Like this is amazing. And I love that you're pouring that into your kids, because I think that's super dope for sure. So now our next part is a fun segment. It's just a
yeah,
rapid fire questions. I'm gonna
yeah,
just throw things out there
sure.
and just answer what you come up with. Okay. So
Yeah,
first thing,
go.
sex or chocolate? Tequila or whiskey?
Tequila,
Okay. Coffee or tea?
tea,
Cats or dogs?
dogs,
Waffles or pancakes?
pancakes,
Oh, I like pancakes too. Mornings or evenings?
mornings.
All right. The best book you've ever read?
I was thinking about this. There's a book called Essentialism.
Okay. We're gonna have
I
to drop
really,
that
really,
link. And who's the author? Do you know?
Greg McEwen.
Okay, we'll drop that link, guys. So you guys,
Yeah,
I'm a big book person, so I'm like,
yeah.
let me see that. Um, Guilty TV show or movie?
Like I said, anything superhero related, like
Okay.
anything Batman or Spider Man, all over it. Yeah.
Okay, so which Batman? Are we talking about Christian Bale? Or are we talking about
Christian Bale is probably my one of my. I'd probably say my favorite, but the newer Robert Pattinson, the one he just did, I thought
Yeah.
that was amazing too. So yeah,
Okay. Okay. Christian Bale is my favorite for sure.
yeah.
Favorite ice cream flavor?
I really like this Ben and Jerry's. It's like a chocolate with brownie bits in it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And since you just talked about this, if you could be any superhero, who would you be and why?
I would say, I mean, two favorites, Batman and Spider Man, but I would say Batman only because like he has no powers and he has to rely on his strength and intellect.
I love
So I
that.
think that's very cool.
Awesome, awesome. I love that. I'm gonna look at like Captain Marvel because I think she's just a badass, and I will
Yeah,
like,
she is. Yeah, yeah,
and she can bounce out of this planet as soon as she wants to. She's like, you know what, you guys are tripping over here. Call me when you guys get it together. So,
I
I
love
definitely vibe with her for sure. So.
it.
I want to just definitely wrap up this amazing podcast and kind of talk about some key takeaways that you feel like, if you were to have a legacy, if people were to know you as a person, what would that be? What would your mark be in this world? How would you want people to remember you? And then for other doctors that are just trying to figure out their way, things that helped you
Yeah.
outside of just practicing dentistry, but beyond the chair. What do you feel like those things were?
So I guess legacy would be more of like, I was like a kind, nice person, worked hard. I do think like I'm creative too, so I like that as well. For new docs, I would just say like, figure out what your dream is, what your vision is, work towards that, even if it takes a little bit longer. And then, yeah, just you got to take care of yourself. If you want to do it for even a short amount of time or long amount of time, you just have to take care of yourself. And I think being that like emotionally, spiritually, physically, mentally, like all those ways, you got to take care of yourself.
I love that. Tejas, it was an absolute honor from the bottom of my heart to have you here on this show. Not only because I admire what you're doing, but because you are a light and you shared your light with others. So I want to thank you
Thank
so
you.
much from your time, energy, and effort to be here. Be on the lookout for that rosé because you absolutely deserve it. And
I
guys,
really
if
appreciate
and guys, if you want to connect with Dr. Patel, tell them where they can reach out to you one more time,
it.
especially to take this amazing course because I think CEs are critical to your success. And if you haven't seen his work, you need to check out his IG, but also study and learn your craft. And where could they find you at?
For sure. So Instagram is at Tejas Patel DDS. For our online courses on Instagram, it's at Veneer Training. And then our TikTok is at Dr. Tejas Patel.
Awesome. And guys, we'll have the links in the episode, but thank you so much for being a part of this Beyond the Chair. Tune in next time as we talk to another doctor about how the keys to success are pivotal for growth and potential. It's been a pleasure talking to you guys. Check you out next time.